Hello everyone, today I'm looking at Off. This was a really interesting game, and it has really distinct atmosphere, but I think right off the bat, I'd have to say I wouldn't actually recommend it simply because it doesn't feel finished. And it's a very bittersweet kind of game because when I first played it, like I've played a bunch of RPG Maker games at this point, from Yume Nikki to Ib, and some of them, they either catch me or they just don't. And this one, it caught me immediately. The writing, the music, the atmosphere is very distinct, and there's a lot of very interesting writing here that I think has gone overlooked, I would say. For example, you have characters with biblical names, you have different languages being spoken, like at least French and something else. You have a lot of different references and different, ideas and words and concepts that are all floating all together. And so what the story is roughly is that you are a batter. You're a baseball player called the Batter. And he acts more like an inquisitor on a sacred mission, but he uses a baseball bat. And all I can think of, there's definitely something here derived from Earthbound and the spirituality of that game, where it's combined with some kind of spiritual elements, because, Ness is, the same kid using a bat. But here it's elevated to a completely different universe, I would say. You also have this other character who is the main cat character, whose name escapes me right now. And so I think he's just called the Judge. And so his job essentially is that he summons you on this sacred mission to purge the world of evil. And so the main kind of enemies you fight throughout the game are called ghosts or specters. And then you move on to other enemy types that are made of, there's beasts, there's very weird attributes. You might have things like fire, water, electric, air. Here it's metal, plastic, meat, and something else. It was just a very weird system. And so metal does damage to ghosts because, it does. And so the Judge is this evil looking cat demon thing, but it talks incredibly verbosely, and all the characters have very distinct talking styles. Another major reoccurring theme is you have these employees, or the main NPCs in the game, who look like employees who are completely soulless and they don't want to exist, basically, and they just don't have fun doing anything, or they're kind of quirky in a few ways. The combat in this game is pretty standard. It's your normal RPG Maker combat. You're gonna have, and again, because the game is very short, you're gonna have maybe like 8 moves that you unlock. You only get to like level 15. I was level 15 by the end of the game. And the other thing that you do is that in the game there's also a series of puzzles, which might involve little block puzzles, which are kind of ingenuitive. I've never really seen something like that. I mean, there's this one falling minigame that you do. So the actual in-world gameplay, you navigate around the world, talk to characters, solve puzzles here and there, and yeah, it's a nice puzzle system. Actually, I really enjoyed the puzzle system because you'd have to watch for numbers in the environment. There's another one where it gives you a quiz and asks you a bunch of questions about the things you've noticed throughout the game, and there's like 5 of them, and surprisingly I got all of them correct, because I thought, I don't know, that I wasn't paying attention to that part, but sure enough, it all kind of came together. And so you go on this quest, basically, and there's also this other aspect to it where you go in different worlds and different zones, and so you warp in and warp out of these places, and each world has a very distinct theme. And what was surprising is I think there's only roughly 4 levels, basically, or 4 worlds. And so one is kind of this corporate office, another one is a post office, another one is kind of like this they're all kind of variations of offices now that I think about it, or towns, or a library or something. So very kind of semi-realistic places. The color palette is also very interesting. You usually have a bright primary color like yellow, purple, green, while the batter himself is just black and white and kind of pops out in front of everything. Also, another weird thing is that all the water in the game apparently are oceans of plastic, or it's liquid plastic apparently. So yeah, this game has a very weird, very interesting tone, but from the second I started playing it, I was absolutely hooked. I've not felt that for a very long time. It's just unfortunate it is not finished. It's not, I mean, it is done, it just kind of ends, but there's all of this. It's a great setup, but there's no payoff. It's like, okay, who is the batter? Why is he on a holy mission? Another thing that's really interesting is that after you name your character, he acknowledges that is your name of the player or the controller, and that he's just an empty vessel. And so you just kind of go through the game, and the idea is that you're controlling him entirely, and he has no recompense. He has no agency, really. It's just you acting through him. It's also really interesting that you do get some side characters or a party system in this game, but really for the most part, these characters, I mean, they're all the same. They're these abstract symbols. I mean, they're just circles, honestly, but they're called Alpha, Omega, and Gamma, I believe. Or Epsilon, rather. I don't know what to say. Like, you know, one of them has advantage in healing, another one has an advantage in boosting stats, another one has an advantage in causing, you know, status effects. But they're just complete placeholders. Like, they do not have personalities, they don't have characteristics. They are just giant placeholders for actual characters. I've never seen that be done in an RPG where a party member that is a main thing in your party has no dialogue. It's just a tool for you to use, which is really, really bizarre. I think the other thing I really need to point out about this game that I think is very, what would I say, iconic about it is the music. And not really so much the music. I mean, the music in the overworld is interesting. It's very dynamic. It's very weird, honestly, sometimes, and a little bit unnerving. But the battle music is like swing jazz, or what do you call it, like hip hop jazz or new jazz, electro swing, sorry, that's what I'm thinking of. It's electro swing jazz, and the final ending of the game is also a normal kind of 1930s or 20s, not exactly a jazz song, but like a blues kind of song. It's like, that's a very distinct aesthetic. They just like, yeah, let's do electro swing RPG, why not? Where you play as a holy batter on a mission to destroy evil. And so yeah, you kind of go through each world. There's a boss of each world, or there's a Dead End, there's Japheth, and yeah, these are all like biblical names. It's really interesting to see that implemented, but it's never explained why and for what purpose. And so that's the thing. You have this great world of Off that is established, and it's never paid off. It's never explored. It's like, okay, so who is the batter? Why is he being controlled? What's the conflict? And you get to level 4, and they have this whole thing where it's called the room, where it's not really a whole world, but it's this one room where you were born, and it's a series of flashbacks. And then there's this one child at the end of the game that you have to kill. And I don't think it's implied that he's your son or something, or he's you. But essentially what happens is you kill him, and then the final boss fight is between you and the judge, who says, I misjudged you. I think you're too evil to exist, that you're not actually a purge of evil, you're evil yourself. And then you have this binary choice to either continue playing as the batter, or the alternate ending to play as the judge and defeat the batter in an RPG battle, which isn't really truly hard. But yeah, it's a very weird game, but it's very, very interesting. And it's just bittersweet that it does not explain itself. Like, it's a perfect kind of game for fan theories, because they really just kind of drop it short at what feels like maybe the halfway point. So that's why I really can't actually recommend this game. As interesting as it is, it feels experimental and unfinished. I love indie developers, I love indie games, but at least when I have most indie games, it's kind of like, okay, that was a distinct, weird experience, but at least it finished itself, even if it was shorter. This one, it's short, and you can just tell the vision is much more than what the guy made, which is, I guess, kind of unfortunate. But it's a really interesting test to see how people like this, and I was shocked too, because most like PC games of this type, most RPG Maker games in general, I just kind of like, okay, whatever, another pixelated 2 game, whatever. But this one, it really grabbed me, and it's kind of like, oh, why did it do that? That was really interesting. How did it do that? Was it the music, the writing, the setting, the tone? And I think it really does establish, I think, the main core thing that, at least in game writing, retains an audience very effectively is mystery. You are immediately introduced to mystery. And the other thing I also like about the Battery is he's a man of few words. He's very short, to the point. He's not constantly ruminating about something or over analyzing something. He's very straightforward. He's like, look, I'm here to fight you and kill you. He's almost like Master Chief in some sense. Also, the art styles of the battles are pretty interesting. The backgrounds, they don't move at all, but they're actually pretty interesting, pretty dynamic. And yeah, I just feel like this was a game that had more in it, but we just never got to see that, which is really unfortunate. But this guy had an idea, and he definitely cooked something worthwhile. Off, why is it called that? Well, at the end of the game, there's a switch that you decide to turn off. And like, I don't know, man. I just played it. I just beat it. I don't know what that was about. I don't know why it's called off. There are other switches in the game as well, and it would be nice if there were more puzzles involving switches. Most of the puzzles involve like blocks and stuff, but if there were more puzzles involving switches, I think it would have a more thematic drive to it, but that's simply not the case. So it's kind of unfortunate, I guess, that why is it called off? I cannot tell you. There's a switch and he turns it off. I don't know if it's the world. I don't know if it's something else, but yeah. So that's kind of unfortunate. It's a bittersweet indie game, but I'm glad I finally got around to playing, because people were saying, oh yeah, it's one of the great RPG Maker games, and so I tried them, like, yeah, it's good, but it just doesn't conclude well. So, and it's short too, so I guess you won't waste too much time on it if you do decide to pursue it anyway. But yeah, that's off. See you later.